Hello, everyone. It's the 18th of December, 2025. I'm Dana. Here we go again. Never end. It's a never ending. A new study shows cancer, about 20,000 extra cancers around this particular power plant. And, you got to think about heart problems, liver, lung, respiratory, etc., etc. I'll get into it. It's not just cancer, unfortunately. Just a little strange start. It's Calm Down Charlie, Tokyo Rose's grandson. This is a stalker who's been stalking me from the government. It's called Operation Long Jump. And James Lucid put together a video to try to show you how bizarre this actually is. And we're going to play that as an intro. I'll be right back.
Y'all hear static? Charlie tapping lines again. Grossy still pressing buttons in Vienna. Talking shit from a desk.
Oh, Mr. Dino!
Charlie call in like he know that code. Voice cracked up, couldn't hold that load. Say Tokyo, but the heat ain't there. Talk real greasy from a folding chair. Say Dana line, say he got no facts, but we see melt and we know the tracks. Grossy feed scripts from a lockbox room. Just a big play with a clickbait boom. Boom, boom, boom. He say just wait. Long jump soon. He gon' test fate. Tokyo Rose got a grandson troll. Call up Dana, try to play that role. Say operation, voice off stage. Stream stay live, he just sound caged. Scripts don't hit that bluff too clean. He don't debate, he repeat the screen. Say just you wait, but the call don't land. Whole thing run by Grossy's hand. Grossy push papers, slide that task. Charlie just read from a handler mask. He claimed meltdown never took place, but the water still flash and the rod still trace. He say scam show, then his line cut quick. Trying to frame Dana like a Netflix flick, but the crowd stay locked. Cams don't shake, truth sit heavy and the call sound fake. Stream tab live, troll line trace. No name filed, burner in place. Long jump moving, playback fake. Call don't shake, feed don't break. Just noise on a burner, no seat at the table.
Oh, Mr. Dino!
Tokyo Rose got a grandson troll. Call up Dana, try to play that role. Say operation, voice off stage. Stream stay live, he just sound caged. Scripts don't hit that bluff too clean. He don't debate, he repeat the screen. Say just you wait, but the call don't land. Whole thing run by Grossy's hand.
About radiation.
You shut your
nuclear.
pie hole.
He know a lot more than you.
Hold
You're
on.
stupid, man.
Piece of shit. Hey, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Okay, sit. Oh, you don't make me sick.
Huh?
Mr. Thunderfoot, you're gonna be finished. You're gonna be finished.
Charlie call loud, voice all nerves. Long jump leak got prepped in curves. Just you wait, but the tone ain't land. He a ghost line tool from the V and a brand. Dana still drop with the feed in frame while Charlie repeat like a rerun game. Say Mr. Dana, then mute come fast. As op ain't real, that ghost don't last. Rose ran psyops, now he on script. Grossy feeding trolls from a fax board trip. Calm down, Charlie out.
Do you like my,
Do you want to tell
do you like my
about
t-shirt?
friend of Tokyo Bureau?
Do you like
Let me tell you
that?
about friend of Tokyo Bureau.
You piece of shit.
Radiation.
You shut
and
your
nuclear.
pie hole.
He know a lot more than you.
That's so funny. You know what else is funny? I didn't plug in the external. Bear with me. Hang on. Tokyo Bureau. Tokyo Bureau. There we go. Some magic should happen here. The real magic would be if I'd done it before the show started. That's it. Excuse me. Here we go. if you go over to my videos, you're on the show right now. You're in the live show. Wow, 11 people are ready. What the hell is going on tonight? If you go to my video section, Operation Long Jump, that's the phone call where the Japanese government is threatening me. It's called Operation Long Jump, and it's designed to destroy me. And I think they succeeded pretty beyond their wildest dreams, actually. Okay, let's get back to business here. 50 atoms a kilogram. So Bqm² is a pulse of energy. It's a physical isotope. It's man-made, which means it doesn't come from the solar system. It's not created by the sun. Our body don't have an autoimmune trigger to defend against it. 50 atoms a kilogram. So Bqm is the pulse of energy from an isotope, from an atom, say. And you can put 200 million atoms on the head of a needle, but you cannot see that. But 50 of them will cause irreversible lesions to your vital organs, and that's catastrophic to anybody. And this is not just humans, right? Animals are much more vulnerable. Species close to the ground are worldwide now are bathed in a full body X-rays from anthropogenic man-made radiation. Nuclear radiation, the most carcinogenic thing that exists. Strong evidence to date that cancer not only exists at low doses of radiation, but may be greater per unit of dose than at higher doses, because you're permanently being hit with these pulses of energy that your body's never experienced, that you're not designed to deal with it. You deal with it as a foreign invader, right? Your autoimmune triggers. How low doses of radiation causes heart diseases, strokes, there's heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. There's a lot of mental health issues because the radiation's in your body's attacking the white blood cells every second for the rest of your life. It's also pulsing energy, wrecking chromosomes, DNA, and cells, and causing permanent lesions to your organs. Your body's trying to repair that every second. You can't keep up with that. And so your body is very compromised, your immune system, and you're more susceptible to all kinds of pathogens and diseases and illnesses that normally you can fight off easily, right? It's the same for the species, but much more pronounced. And so the lower invertebrates, like the insects, there's a lot of insects that are important to the food chain, what they call keystone species, like spiders, like mosquitoes, like high-numbered species. They produce in high numbers for that purpose. They have so many predators. Frogs, you name it, feed on. There's all kinds of species feeding on mosquitoes, for instance, right? And so when you start seeing them proliferate, the first question you always should ask yourself is, where are their predators? And if they're missing, then you're in a nuclear wasteland. And our whole planet is like that now. Now, there's another effect of the radiation on the human bodies that wasn't taken into account. But I mean, it's a great study, and we're going to get to it. Is because you're breathing in so much of an anthropogenic man-made radiation, the species are too, and kids and everybody else, you're bioaccumulating a lot. And you're being bathed in an X-ray because you got gammas, alphas, neutrons, and betas, and radioactive fallout. Let's just start on that before we jump into the study. And then you can appreciate the enormity of what that study actually means, hopefully. Here we go. We're almost here. Yippee-ki-yay. What did you think of that video of James's last night? That should get like a Grammy Award or some Emmy Award. That was crazy. How good that actually was. The industry's all dressed up the weekend. They're doing that, most likely. Neptunium-239, this is a model based on TEPCO's total releases. Now, TEPCO's total releases doesn't include the inventories for some. The nuclear industry is just, if you never experienced this conversation before, when you're talking about the nuclear industry, you're talking about the crazies. The people that should never exist only exist because of the nuclear industry. And they get incredible educations. They can't go out and get a job, but they're comfortable in university, right? And the nuclear industry will pick these people off. Professionals will point them out and say, well, he's got all kinds of degrees. We're never going to get rid of him unless somebody takes him. He's comfortable. He's the teacher's pet of the teacher's pet of the teacher's pet. And there's a lot of them. And they gravitate towards the industry right away because the industry welcomes them in, right? Makes them feel like they're actual subhumans anyway. So the inventories from the radioactive fallout are not from these Reactor 3 and Reactor 4 behind me, which had at least 8 or 9 reactor cores and the fuel pools at the very top of these 190-foot, 65-meter, 19-story buildings. And so when you look at the radioactive fallout like this, the neptunium decays to plutonium-239, for goodness sakes. I apologize to the regular, but one of the things I believe in is arming people through repetition with documentation, right? So you always got the moral high ground. Like you don't need to be computer savory. Just take your phone and I'll get off the picture and take a picture of the screen. And then when you're having a debate, you get into a fight argument with somebody that's winning, because you're a bit lazy today, you're not paying attention, then take out this picture and ask them to explain what part of the building are they at in real life. Like this is just some of the big media, CBS, BBC, CNN, ABC Australia. The producers, the editors, the videographers, everybody had to be in on this story for this story to work because they put it up on TV, right? So they're in on the story. They're aware this happened. They're aware of the significance of it. And they're okay with being evil. They're completely okay. Here we are on top of Reactor 4 at Fukushima, but that building doesn't exist. So the nuclear industry, because its emissions are so nasty. Let's keep her going here. I got off track. It's clear low-level contamination is probably more dangerous than a single dose. Grasshoppers with deformed wings, gray eyes not red, birds with abnormal sperm, strange large tumors. So the radiation fallout, let me go back to that one more time. Here's our planet after 20 days of neptunium. But it decays to plutonium over all of it over 25 days. There's 2.5 days per half-life. There's 10 half-lives. And the reason you call it, they could have come up with a better... I remember and then I forgot, then I forgot what I was supposed to be grabbing to finish the story off. Okay, I got it. I don't know if it's in this section though, but it might take me a second. Or more. A little quicker though this time. Here we go. Clink. There she goes. So radiation, plutonium, this is a plutonium covering the entire planet. I want you to remember that facet of the story. And that those buildings weren't in that model. So the inventory is from 18 reactor cores, because there was 9 at the top of each of the buildings. This is why they're pretending that they're on top of the building that doesn't exist, because there were so many reactor cores. Each of the reactor cores were equal to 100 Cheronobyls, because they're pure uranium, pure plutonium. those billings emissions, which is can be only described in my little world as a pulse event, where the whole planet has a pulse, a continuous cloud, very high, very rich. But it wasn't just Neptunium-239, which decays to plutonium-239. It had all the other isotopes are in those plumes. So when it comes to plutonium, which that modeled the whole planet for all the species, think about the species first. So 238, 144 beagle dogs, death from the radiation, they all died. 144 dogs died. Bone tumors, 93 dogs were the most common cause of death. 93 out of 144 died of bone tumors. This is the U.S. Navy, Loveless Respiratory Research Institute, New Mexico. U.S. Navy, right? This is, and they call the name of the institute is Loveless, appropriately so. Lung tumors in 46 dogs, another cause of death. Liver tumors in the dogs. So typically 3 tumors from just one isotope. But these don't travel by themselves. Okay. I'm trying to make a point here, so I apologize. Now, the tumors in the 3 organs occurred in the same animals, but the competing causes didn't. Finding dogs suggest similar dose-related biological effects could be expected in humans that were contaminated by plutonium. Well, everybody wasn't. Every species was. Whales included, seals, halibut, you name it. It was discovered that the human kidneys are at least 50 times less efficient than the animal kidneys are at removing plutonium. So you're 50 times more likely to die than the dogs, and every one of the dogs died. Now, Dave Dunn, just Gilmedy alone, this was his accolades, and he's got 96 studies killing beagle dogs and beagle puppies. And more alarming was this study here by Loveless Respiratory Research Institute in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Curium isotopes are the major byproduct in the radiated fuel rod. Forget alpha emitting for 1 second. I'm going to make a point right after this next one. Curium, 244, has a half-life of 19 years. Its next decay has a half-life of 6,000 years. Very high energetic, very, very high. Requires lead shielding 20 times thicker than plutonium. Is the major byproduct of the radiated fuel rod, not cesium, not neptunium, not americium, not curium, or iodines. And don't get me wrong, they're prolific. They're catastrophic too. But all eyes should be on this fact that curium isotopes are the major byproduct. Okay. All right, here we go. Neptunium-239. So imagine in this particular model, the whole story is crazy, though. No matter how you look at it. So there's going to be, we know we got 220 million atoms of iodine-129 per liter of radioactive foliate in the same plume. We know we got 1 million to 10 million times pre-Fukushima levels of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air. And the iodine-129, by the way, 220 million atoms per liter, was per liter of radioactive foliate. Cesium-137, the French government study, is a cubic meter of air. And so this pre-Fukushima numbers means it could be 30 million atoms. And cesium-137 in particular pulses energy 600 feet every second, almost at the speed of light. All of these are pulsing energies, and it's a gamma, for instance, right? These are alphas. Curium's alpha rather. This is a beta, decays to a alpha, decays to a gamma, right? And so what you got going on was you got all these different isotopes, and you got 20 million atoms of 20 million particles of iodine-131 per liter hitting North America in the same plume in the planet, and for every iodine, and 20 million atoms per liter. These are crazy numbers because you're 5,500 miles away or more. And so now you're talking about there's 10 times more iodine 132 for every iodine 131 that's produced, and there's 30 times more iodine 133 for every iodine 131 that's produced, and 31 times more iodine 129, which was 220 million atoms per liter. In a separate study in Canada, these are Canadian, the iodine 131 and the iodine 129 are two different Canadian studies, right? The 129 is out of Ottawa, Canada, the capital of Canada. These are continuous plumes covering the whole planet. The xenon was 450,000 times 133, but there's going to be equal amounts of 135. There was all of these different studies of radioactive fallout, the sulfur peroxide, hydrogen buckyballs, which, these are super hot particles, and the sulfur is liberated at these high temperatures because they were using all that seawater too. You got to remember, for quite a long time, and that's a new entity you're introducing into the fine particulates, right? Because water going in on these enormous temperatures melted pieces of reactor cores, because this thing exploded all over the place, and you had nuclear meltdowns everywhere going on. As it ejected a large proportion of the fuel, which could easily be 18 reactor cores from the fuel pools at reactor 3 was completely ejected right out of the building immediately. We actually have videos of that. And reactor 1. The reactor 3 was a plutonium mixed oxide. I'm trying to make a point. Here we go. So you got gammas and alphas and neutrons and betas. You got a lot of it. You got a lot. You got absurd amount of it documented underground in North America, Canada, and then by proxy the rest of the world. This was a continuous plume covering the entire planet. Think of a snowstorm starts in Japan, 20 days later, it's a snowstorm wrapped around your planet, and it never stops snowing, and the snow never goes away. You'll get it right quick then, won't you? And you're just like, oh, okay, I got it. Oh, shit. You'll be like, you get it right away, but you can't see it, but this is what's happening. And it's not like snow where you can visually touch it and you got to use a shovel. This stuff will just hover right above the ground. It's electrically charged, too. So close to the ground where the children are and the small animals, for instance, is a brutal land. And, of course, for the insects, everybody's getting a full-body X-rays constantly because you got gammas and alphas, neutrons and betas, and the Bremsstrahlung effect, which is a German for X-rays, where gammas, alphas, neutrons, and betas are all pulsing almost at different speeds, but they're almost all at the speed of light. They're close to it, but they're slightly different. Not that matters at that speed, okay? Because we're talking about enormous speeds. But this is what it does. It erects chromosomes in DNA and cells, etc., etc., etc. It's brutal in the biota in the animal kingdom, for instance. And so you got all these, they hit each other and they slam into each other and they change direction. Gammas hit neutrons and they both slam each other almost at the speed of light and they change direction almost at the speed of light. And that creates a flash known as an X-ray. And that sterilizes all the species, the little tiny species, microscopic animals, the little tiny animals, the little mice, all of these important facets of your food chain. The minute you knock out one of the species of the food chain, when you start knocking out 60, 70, 80% of the species over a few months because of the massive radioactive fallout, you devastate the food chain, right? You're in real trouble. And it's going to play out over a couple of decades, but it's going to play out for sure now. You have set in motion something you can't turn back. And let's get after the story, I guess. So you're getting full body X-rays for every species. Keep that in mind for the next story. So the first story, we know that plutonium kills all the species. And you got to worry about the curium isotope. They're not telling you iodine because all of them are an issue. None of them are safe, right? Two more of these. Radiation, small doses could actually be disproportionately worse. New York Times. Dose spread out over time might be more dangerous than doses given all at once. Renewed importance after Fukushima. I already covered that one. This whale was a couple of months ago. This is a Bride's whale. Should weigh around 88,000 pounds. It might weigh 1,800 pounds. We have broken the food chain. And away we go. So there's a study that you probably read already. It's Harvard. Now, I audited Harvard's, MIT's, Stanford, I think, all in just one go. In just a few days, right, of work. What have I got done here? Sorry. So if you go to my playlist, you'll see audit of Harvard, MIT, and Stanford University. So, like, I understand that there's always going to be... Hello, everybody. I understand that there's always going to be... Yeah. Should nuclear power plants' fuel pools be declared disease factories and weapons of mass destruction? Now, I got to finish the other story first before I jump. Because you can't keep up with it, right? I apologize. Cancer risk may increase with proximity to nuclear power plants. They always got to frame it that way anyway, right? What they found, though, in Massachusetts, residential proximity to a nuclear power plant was associated with significantly increased cancer incidences, with risk declining by distance, according to a new study led by Harvard University and led by the public health, no less. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. The research estimated about 20,600 extra cancer cases in the state. Roughly 3.3% of all the cases included in the study were attributable to living next or near a nuclear power plant. Now, we got quite a few of these reports over the years. So in one way, it was a great idea to do the study because they don't have to worry about, they can always come back with, well, you know, these studies have been done before. It's a normal study, right? But they didn't do the study for something to do. They done the study because they're concerned. But there's many if you go watch my Harvard audit, where we just took their Fukushima presentation after the accident in that short distance, and they came out to allay concerns in the public, and this was a media propaganda coup, basically. It meant to downplay it, right? And what I done was we listened to everything they had to say, and we challenged their narrative with documentation, moved on to the next. Well, they flat out lied over and over and over about Fukushima. And so we just showed the evidence for each lie that we caught them in, that we can say, okay, well, that's a lie, here's the truth. And, we raised all the questions of why did they use the people that they used when they have all kinds of nuclear experts. The whole thing was just disappointing. So this study is refreshing, and there has to be, right, there always has to be some good people at the university. They can't all be corrupt, but there is, they are taking a chance by putting out a study like that. But clearly they're in a position where they know they can do it, and they're not doing it without the dean aware that they're doing it, I can tell you that much. Risk declining sharply beyond roughly 30 kilometers from a facility. So they should be studying they should be studying the fact that all of these victims, they should be looking at the same time for heart problems, liver, lethal problems like that even. But, if you look at the increases in heart problems in that same distance, and liver problems and lung problems and respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, you got to look at the fact that the thyroid is producing radioactive hormones, which is shit stuff, because it's not designed to do that, and that's not part of your evolution. And is you're introducing foreign hormones throughout your development. So all the species now that most of them are gone, the rest need to be studied. And the stem cells, you're producing radioactive stem cells. So for the developing, like for children 0 to 25, or for the developing species, which, are producing yearly species, babies each year, whereas humans say, there's distances, right? Species, they'll, like say, raccoons or squirrels or whatever, birds, they're going to try to produce every single year a litter or fledglings or whatever the case may be, right? So they're bathed now in a permanent X-ray from the Bromson lung effect, from the gamma shines, the neutrons, the betas, the alphas smashing into each other. Because we have saturated our biosphere, which wiped out the biota and the fungus and the bacteria in your soil, which your soil is dependent upon bacteria and fungus. The biota, the millions of microscopic creatures that breaks down the foliage and the litter in your forest. It's heartbreaking. Let me explain this. Let me get through this story. Risk declining sharply beyond roughly 30 kilometers from the facility, a nuclear disease factory / facility. The risk of developing cancer attributable to living near a nuclear power plant generally increase with age. It's, of course, bioaccumulation. According to the researchers, the findings highlight the importance of acknowledging and addressing nuclear energy's health impact, particularly at a time when its expansion is being promoted as a solution to climate change. They estimate 20,000 extra cancers, and I had their names highlighted, but I don't remember reading it. Well, you can see their names during the second paragraph, but I don't know what happened there. Let me just look through this again. I had it highlighted, so it should have been sitting right there for me. No way. Anyway, you see them there in the second paragraph. Just give me 1 second here now, and I'll finish it. So we're talking about all the species getting full body X-rays. Let me do this again. Just one, not the whole thing. Just one part. Ooh, busted up today, man. Holy shit. My feet hurt like crazy, eh? Don't even know what I'm doing here. Oh yeah, I know. It's like autopilot, eh? That's scary. That's so scary. I'm clicking away, going right to where I'm supposed to go, but I can't remember where I'm going. Then all of a sudden I realize I'm watching myself clicking away, and I'm like, holy shit. That was weird. So this is the French government's model of the radio cesium-137 at 1,000,000 to 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air. Remember, it's going to have all the other isotopes, and there's a 100-to-1 ratio of strontium-90 after 1,000 days. And I don't know how long that'll continue, because we've never had something like this before. So think of this as a snowstorm. It's coming out of Japan. You're at day 10. Now almost all of Canada, the United States is covered. And certainly the planet is covered. We're almost at day 20. Day 25. And this goes on forever. This never goes away. And there's all the other isotopes too. Now think of that as a snowstorm that after 20 days covers your planet. It never stops snowing. Snow never melts. you'd sure get it then, wouldn't you? Well, it's the same thing, but you can't see it or smell it or hear it or feel it or taste it or touch it or pick it up or throw rocks at it. But the species, like the microscopic tiny species, can perceive it for sure, but then they can do it. You're never sterilizing all the vulnerable species. And anything that lives in the open is no longer in a natural habitat, right? They're living in a nuclear wasteland. They know it. The smells are not there, the biota's not there, the foliage is not breaking down, the litter's not breaking down. We're in real trouble. And so remember this part here, okay. Let me go ahead. That's the snowstorm and radioactive fires. That's the French government. They wouldn't lie to you, would they? Like, they're as pro-nuclear as you can get. They're more pro-nuclear than anybody else on the planet. Well, besides the crazies in Britain. So your whole planet is covered in a permanent radioactive fallout now, thanks to the nuclear crazies. So I launched research expeditions from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska. Because I'm a sucker for punishment. I'm my puppy. And so it's hard to comprehend how many ways I approached this nightmare, trying to see what was left. We're desperate to find what's left. And you'll understand what that means in a minute. I'm going to show you my research, watered down version of my research. Some hurricanes, eh? I don't wear that cap because I didn't have another one because I keep losing them. So this is a typical day. And you're out there for 4 or 5 months at a time, 6 months. And you're not coming back because you got 27,000 islands to get up and get the shit kicked out of. So you got all these fjords and inlets and everything else, and it's a brutal beating. It's your typical day. And so just building this whole operation and getting it to work. Under siege the entire time. Hate it. Stalked. Dossed. Had my pictures of my home, my vehicle and everything else posted online, encouraging people that I'm evil. But I mean, it really happened. Fukushima really happened. I'm not the bad guy. Now you've got blue whales. This is recent. That should weigh 380,000 pounds, 200 tons. Maybe weighs now 12 tons. This is absurdness. So let's say it weighs 50,000 pounds. I can tell you right now, that's nowhere near 50,000 pounds. It's still 320,000 pounds, 330 pounds shy of what it should be. They're big whales. So we launched the research expeditions due to facts, documentation, and locked and loaded. Like locked and loaded. And I can't remember how many jerry cans of fuel I used to bring with me, but 20 jerry cans and everything else filled up. There's 45 gallons in the whole of it, the big Zodiac, right? So the species to your left are exterminated. What's left is to the right. It's the total annihilation of the species. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. So the species to your left, I went up there and documented it year after year. And the reason I kept going back year after year, I wanted to see if those species came back. Because Fukushima really did happen. A radioactive fallout really does have consequences. The species really does deserve to have their story told. Despite what people might think about me, you got to realize the absurd amount of stress I'm under all the time. It's absurd how much stress I'm under all the time. I used to dive and work in this environment every day, 6 hours a day on the ocean floor. And for years and years, I'm very familiar with these species. So to go up and do the entire coastline I went up there year after year because I wanted to see if if they would recover. They didn't recover. So imagine what it's doing to you around your nuclear power plants. And we talked about that quite recently a number of times, which is interesting. That there was an experiment done in Ontario, Canada, of a nuclear reactor's anti-neutrinos releases. And they had a mine shaft in the Canadian Shield, which means you're in granite, deep underground in granite rock. And I don't know if it was 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers, but they were 150 miles away, say they were 1 kilometer underground in granite from the last nuclear power plant. And they had an experiment to see if they could read the neutrinos from the nuclear power plant. And sure enough, they were able to get the neutrinos underground, a kilometer underground, in the Canadian Shield, which is granite rock, not like gravel, even though that would still be incredible, right? We're talking about granite rock, solid granite rock for 1 kilometer deep. And they can read the antineutrinos. This is a very well-known study. The radioactive fallout is real, and the die-off is permanent. This is an extinction event. And I'm going to just go finish out the show tonight on whales and birds and insects. That we started a typical die-off show of recent die-offs that have died under suspicious circumstances, post-Fukushima, which is every species. We're seeing the emaciation. Let me just show to you what I'm saying. And I'm very versed in the facts, but my life is a wreck. But I'm very versed in facts when it comes to nuclear, because nuclear is a pain in the arse for everybody, and people just don't understand that. So these are recent. This was a couple of weeks ago. I put this. It was more for myself, right? And I had it up. I kept putting it up on the screen that day over and over and over. And this was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And I was saying, like, because that's a gray whale. That should weigh 80,000+ pounds and probably weighs 5,000. This is a humpback whale we've never seen. Like, if you didn't see the 2 top whales, just ignore them for 1 second, and you only see the 2 bottom whales, that's that kind of severe emaciation. That is mind-boggling. Put the 2 at the top, holy shit. We are in real trouble. We are in just so much trouble. And everybody's very complacent. And I still haven't given up hope. I'm doing everything I can to keep the conversation relevant, even though I know I'm censored enormously and everything else. I don't care about that. The right people will find me. The important ones will find me. And so that whale up in the corner should weigh 380,000 pounds. A blue whale, the bronze whale, should weigh almost 90,000 pounds. Maybe weighs 1,800 pounds. And the one over, the blue whale probably weighs 20,000 pounds, 25,000 pounds. At best, man, at best. It should weigh 370,000, 380,000 pounds. And we don't know what the hell this whale is. I'm assuming it's a humpback whale. But look at it, the tail on it is absurd. The body, there's no muscle mass left whatsoever. Same as the bronze whale. There's no muscle mass, same as that blue whale and the humpback whale, sperm whale, and the humpback whales. This is severe emaciation, right? And that gray whale is severe. This is severe stuff. We cover this every year, and we've done all these research expeditions. We pay attention to all this, but we've never seen nothing like this. In the last couple of weeks, looking at these pictures, you changed the entire paradigm of evolution of this planet. Right? We're in real trouble. We're in real big trouble. Let me get back to where I kind of left off. What the hell did I do? I got lost. I think I found my way back here finally. Yeah, there we go. So this was a crazy story. I was reading this just before I came in the studio. And I was like, oh crap, I gotta grab the hard drive, poke this on it. Which is actually, I gotta sign into my sessions to do that, right? So it's a pain in the arse, but there's no way I couldn't, because I knew I was gonna jump into this after the Harvard study, which is so important. We thanked them so much for doing that study. Please do more. Do more. No one's listening to me. Hopefully they'll listen to you. Narwhal recently found in Ireland suggests they're moving into new areas. Some experts. No, they're looking for food. They're desperate. The nuclear industry's got them chased out of their... for millions of generations, they have followed a set path. It's built into them. And you see all those emaciated whales I just showed you? The final stages, if any of them died at sea, they most likely would have sank because there's no muscle, no blubber, no fat reserves, no nothing. So this narwhal, we covered this story, I think, a few weeks ago, was it? But it was an interesting reply there. So maybe... He said she wasn't in very good condition. She wasn't emaciated. Why would he say that for? That's such a bizarre statement. Well, you'll get it when you see the guy. So maybe she got abducted by an alien. The live stranding killed her. She wasn't in good condition. She wasn't emaciated. Yeah, she was. Right, we've covered this. We got all the pictures aggregated, and we show an emaciated whale. Regardless of what caused the death, really, regardless, he was shocked to see it on the Irish beach. Yeah. It's just mad to know how it ended up there and why. Whales triggered of wider changes in our marine environment, advocates say. Whales triggers of wider changes in our marine environment. See, again, that's MK Ultra right there. You know, you got these different... When you bring all these people into a conversation and none of them are the experts, then you got to start wondering what they're up to. Narwhals typically inhabit the Arctic Ocean, though some have reported to be seen elsewhere in Europe, including in Belgium in 2016. Oh, 5 years after Fukushima. That's your evidence that it's happened before. It's not evidence that happened before Fukushima, that's evidence that happened post-Fukushima. But it doesn't stop there. When a dead male narwhal washed up on the shores of a river, fresh water. Ain't that interesting? He believes the animal found last month in Ireland could indicate the narwhals may be moving into new areas. Now, first off, they've been doing millions of generations have traveled the same migratory path until post-Fukushima, like 2016 you were alluding to. He said another Arctic marine mammal, a bowhead whale, which lives to be almost 200 years old or so, was also seen northeast of Ireland in 2016. Oh, it doesn't end there. This is the guy there. This is Barrows, the CEO of the Irish Whale Dolphin Group. I don't like these people at all. I have no respect for him. He's the guy who said she wasn't in very good condition, but she wasn't emaciated. So what do you mean by that? She wasn't in very good condition. She was starving. She's either starving or she wasn't starving. I get the pictures of, we covered it. She was starving. However, Mariana McCoke, researcher with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, and I apologize for that right away, says the narrow whale found in Ireland is not too much of a panic. Is not too much of a panic. They've been found before to go outside their normal range, she said. She points to the narrow whales that were found in the St. Lawrence River from 2016 to 2023, post-Fukushima. They've been found to go outside the normal range, after Fukushima. So why would you say not too much of a panic for? Because they're panicking. They went all the way to Ireland. They went all the way up to St. Lawrence. Right, so they showed up in Belgium, they showed up in Ireland, and they showed up so they're traveling places that never been seen before post-Fukushima. The food chain is broken is why, right? We're always headed this way. These are severe emaciation, and we have never seen that before. We've seen it getting worse now over post-Fukushima. We've been at this nonstop. Thank goodness, right? And we aggregated all the documentation, and there's nobody out there that been on this ride is going to say it's been an easy ride or a fun ride. But it's a worthy ride, so to speak. It's a worthy story to tell, right? It's the challenge to the nuclear industry is so important. We need millions of little bastards just like me out there smashing this industry, the chicken necks. I'm just saying it like it is. That's what we need anyway, whether we get it or not. At some point you will. Grey whale die of fear, the starving whale. I want to make sure people know the story, that's all. I'm just trying to be a good guy, trying to be helpful. All right, trying to be a bastard. The grey whale die off. This story is absurd. The grey whale die off fear, the starving whales migrate north. So that meant they were starving when they migrated south, 12,000 miles. Thousands of grey whales now migrating north from Baja, California this year was in such poor shape. And they were already in poor shape last fall when they began their 12,000 mile migration to the breeding. So they're already emaciated last year, right, when they headed south to the Baja, Mexico. New Mexico. The whales were already in such poor shape when they began their 12,000 miles. They were emaciated. They're emaciated this year. There's one of them up there, look. There's 14,000 died post-Fukushima. There's 13,000 left. They're all emaciated. Not half of them, not 1/4 of them, but they're all emaciated. They all eat at the same time, the same place. So now they're headed, you're not going to see them, they'll be gone. Next year, there'll be literally a couple of thousand out of the 13,000 left. There's no babies survived, no young whales survived the migratory run last year. The whales we are seeing are extremely emaciated. They have bulging ribs with shoulder blades and vertebrae visible even from the shoreline. It's just horrific. Oh yeah, the people that hang out around here, they get it, they know. Oh yeah, it's horrific. Way more than most people are willing to acknowledge. When you're looking at these 4 whales and the next 3, and every one of them is severe emaciations in different species, sperm whales. I think I don't know, don't speak for me. It was in India anyway, severe emaciation. That's a bronze whale, that's a blue whale. It's a grey whale, and two young humpbacks. They're 2 years old roughly each. They were probably born healthy. They couldn't find any food. Their mother couldn't give them enough milk to nurture them. They couldn't find any food, and the emaciation of it, they don't look bad compared to the what the frig is going on up above it. Like that bridge whale, that's absurd. And they're not like trying to explain it away. In fact, there was only one picture came out. That was the only picture. That was in India. And it wasn't a very high quality picture. It was brutally low quality picture. If you've seen that in high quality, which, the high quality was probably blocked here for Canada, then you would realize what you're looking at is there's bones is holding the body structure together. That's it. You would see the bones. You would see that definition. Like that maybe weighs 1,800 pounds when it should weigh close to 90,000. Like, that's insane. And nobody would have guessed this could happen pre-Fukushima. Like, we postulated something like this, but I don't think we come close to this, where they look like a whip. They're so skinny. I don't think there's any marine biologist or academic on the planet that could have or postulated that a whale could get this, if you starved a whale, that it would end up at this, this deformity before it, emaciation before it would finally die. Nobody would have, and that's the beauty of the ocean, where it holds your weight, right? You couldn't do it on land, right? An elephant couldn't become that emaciated. That can only happen because of the ocean. So you got all of the gray whales and the humpback whales are emaciated. You got 26 killer whales that showed up in Argentina, and only got 6 medias reported on it. We didn't get 26 pictures. We got low quality pictures. That was the only picture that even come close to reasonable. You can see the rib cage, the shoulder blades. A world rapidly warming. The past 8 years were the 8 warmest on record for the planet. Post Fukushima, were the hottest years on the planet. Wow, big shock. We killed the food chain, and now we're paying for it big time. Climate change is 80 years of emissions from the nuclear industry. The plumes never go away. They never stop pulsing energy almost at the speed of light. And they accumulate in every species on the planet. They destroy the basis of the food chain, the oxygen chain, the carbon sequestering chain as their first wave. The EU climate change in Japan was a pulse event. It's pure uranium, pure plutonium, even plutonium mixed oxide fuel being particulated and atomized in aerosol and ionizing and radiating everything they came in contact with is definitely not a good picture for our planet. Here are climate extremes, record-breaking heat waves in Europe, the floods in Pakistan. Well, the floods are showing up everywhere in Australia. And we were talking about that earlier, where we killed a biota, right, in the meadows and the forest and everything, through the radioactive fallout, through the gammas, the X-rays, the neutrons, the betas, all pulsing energy in your forest and your meadows. You wiped out the biota and the bacteria and the fungus. So the ground doesn't soak up water anymore, and the foliage and the litter doesn't break down. And so now everything is tender, dry, and the earth is sucking up heat. It's not perspiring. We're not getting that morning dew per se, right? We're not getting that morning dew or anything. And so what happens is when the rain falls, it doesn't soak up in the ground, right? Should nuclear power plants' fuel pools be declared disease factories, and weapons of mass destruction. Let me go back and explain that, because I guess in the pulse was kind of important. You got a neat way to do it. Yeah, right here. Blah, 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 blah. I was too busted up to get in the sauna or do the exercise this morning, and I should have done it. That's the days you should do it, right? No pain, no gain. But I was at work and outdoors again today, which made me feel a lot better. And I had some perch show up. Maybe I'll try my best, you know how it goes. Oh, where the hell am I? And so the weekend, hopefully I'll get caught up and get some of that fixed. Shooting videos. Maybe get a video posted a week of my activities this week. That'd be cool. I need to get back into that kind of stuff because there's more to me than those pretty eyes. Why are nuclear power plants surrounded by farms? Should we ask that question? Are we allowed to ask that question? Should I contact the International Atomic Energy Agency, Raphael Grossi, and ask him, am I allowed to talk about farms and nuclear power plants? Why is every nuclear power plant surrounded by farms, as far as you can see? Well, turns out the fuel pool can't contain the radioactive fallout. So when you take, oh, they love you so much, eh? Look at that. So the fuel pool are at the top of the reactors, typically. Not all of them, but they're there on the site anyway, regardless. But a lot of it's, try this again. So the tall skinny stacks are venting the fuel pools. The fuel pools are boiling off about 120,000 liters each. There's 2 fuel pools at the top of the boiling water reactor buildings. Downtown Florida. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Dana!
Why does he still call me? That's I guess he's really proud of himself. He got the cover song tonight that made him feel special. That made him feel special. He's a little quick on me today, is he? This is a guy who has Operation Long Jump. The Japanese government has an operation to destroy me. And so why should I give him an ear on my channel when he's just going to spew propaganda? So why is every nuclear power plant surrounded by farms? I mean, it wasn't for Calm Down Charlie, I probably wouldn't even be here right now. That's the reality of it. Maybe I should have answered the phone. This is Japan, so now that we're talking about it, let's talk about Japan. So Japan, the 14 prefectures, the food was banned by 55 countries worldwide because Japan is lying scum. And I see the farmer, he's harvesting. We know he's harvesting because he's not wearing a stupid paper suit, which is useless at a nuclear. He's in a nuclear wasteland surrounded by thousands and thousands of 1-ton bags of radioactive fallout that's been put in these 1-ton bags. Each bag is 2,200 pounds. And he's harvesting food for sale. They never stopped growing food in the nuclear wasteland. And this is why 55 countries banned those 14 prefectures, because the Japs are evil scum. They're just evil. They're just evil. Everybody, if you get cancer or you get sick from any autoimmune disease, you should sue the Japanese government because they poisoned your food and your water and your air. And you get enough people doing it, and you'll find out quickly that this is an evil industry. Deadly prefectures. Well, every nuclear power plant has fuel pools. The fuel pools are full of reactor cores. So typical reactor will, each building will produce around 5.5 reactor cores in the fuel pools every decade. So every year, 12 months, 14 months, you have to take about 1/3 of the reactor core and put it on top of the building. Now, the reactor core boils water to power a million homes and businesses. It does that by splitting atoms. But you can't, once you take it out of the reactor containment, it's no longer in a containment. You put it in a fuel pool, it boils that water up because it does it by splitting atoms. So the water heats up. And 120,000 liters per pool. And there's 2 pools at the top of the buildings. Then you're talking about 240,000 liters, 240,000 liters a day being boiled into the atmosphere. And each liter has trillions and trillions and trillions of very harmful isotopes. Now, how many atoms do you have to split? I love to have that equation of how many atoms do you got to split to boil a glass of water. Because that's an absurd number. Released into the environment, it can contaminate millions or billions of people. Or every insect, or every bird, or every mammal, or every animal, or every shrimp, or every species on the entire planet will absorb it on top of that because they have that attribute where they act like natural elements, but when they're in your bodies or the species' bodies, the bodies react violently and permanently attack the sources. So why is every nuclear power plant surrounded by farms? Because they can't contain those emissions. And like my heart's broken because every site, the amount of emissions from it, we're talking about nuclear dumps of fuel doing this. You're talking about an industry that during the Manhattan Project, at just a single site, dumped 450 billion gallons of dehydrated radioactive sludge. It's gone through a chain reaction. They didn't know what to do with it. They dumped it in the Columbia River at Hanford, and they dumped it, a lot of it, 41 miles of unlined trenches. But the really nasty stuff in the Manhattan Project, because the inception of nuclear caught everybody off guard, the toxicity, right? So they just dumped it into the Columbia River. But the problem was all of this stuff is splitting atoms. Now, 450 billion gallons is equal to a 6-foot wide aquarium, 518 feet tall, wrapped around the entire planet more than once. This is absurd. No, it can all fit in the Olympic-sized swimming pool, Dana. Come here, I want to grab you by the neck there, buddy. Why is every nuclear power plant surrounded by farms? Because that's the best way to poison every person who goes to a supermarket. The industry, there's no limit on their evil. Japan, for instance, Japan's a prime example. Comes to evil, it's pretty hard to get worse than Japan. Right? The retards in Japan are just incredible. The Tokyo vice governor suggested a Fukushima draft where everybody had to go and fight the nuclear meltdowns. Everybody must face it. Official 311 notebook in Japan, 60 and older should be prepared to die because your power plant broke down. These are vicious scumbag. And look at these communities to your left. They've been abandoned. What you see in this line here is only cesium-137, which is brutal, but you got to multiply these numbers by 600 to get the real numbers. All the different isotopes, right? But look at the communities, and then the population is the second row. these communities were their health, their children, their elderly were destroyed, so the nuclear industry could pretend that it had a few redeeming qualities. And all these communities have been sacrificed so the nuclear industry can survive. Each of these prefectures are producing around 1 billion pounds of rice a year, and is radioactive, and they're shipping it worldwide and killing your loved ones and your friends and your families. And they're not just dying from cancer, they're dying from heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline. Ask any hairdresser for the rest of your life, are they seeing an increase in their clients of autism and Down syndrome or Alzheimer's and dementia or schizophrenia? And they're going to tell you, yeah, we were just talking about that. It's incredible. Cancer epidemic started in the 70s. Thanks, Charlie. Why is every nuclear power plant surrounded by farms? It's not an accident. That's frightening. That is absolutely terrifying. The industry engineers are like the architect and engineers of nuclear power plants. When you're talking about building a nuclear plant, if you get rid of all the farms, you'll get rid of nuclear, because that's where they build all their plants. They know it's deadly. On top of that, they know all the food is going to suck up the radiation. The grapevines will suck up all that radiation. The strawberries will suck up all the radiation. The plants will suck up the radiation. They know this. They got millions of studies like this. Potatoes are going to suck up the radiation. Tomatoes are going to suck up that radiation. Fruit trees are going to suck up. Do you eat any of this stuff? Because you are being targeted. They are targeting you. Anybody eat wheat? Yeah, they're after you, folks. You ever eat anything from a tree? They're out to get you. Do you think it's an accident that almost every nuclear power plant? And do you think it's an accident that they don't know what they're doing? That's one of the most frightening things about this. They know exactly what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. And you have no idea how evil this industry is. We do. Think about the United Kingdom after Windscale. Plutonium in every child's teeth. Plutonium. I showed you the study on plutonium earlier. Just a single isotope is catastrophic to your health. Getting a bunch into your body is brutal. The world rapidly warming. The past 8 years were the 8 warmest on record for the planet. Thanks, Fukushima. Thanks, nuclear industry. So the flash floods are caused because the Earth is not soaking up water anymore, because we killed the biota, the fungus, and the bacteria. The fires are spreading, the record heat, because the Earth is soaking up no water, it's soaking up heat. It's tinder dry. You go to an ant's nest now and just plunge your arm right down into it. It's tinder dry. And you're not worried about the ants because they can't live in that environment. They need bacteria and fungus too, right? And so now the foliage of litter is not breaking down because you wiped out the bacteria, the fungus, and the biota that breaks down. The millions of little microscopic creatures that breaks down your meadows and your forests. And you don't even have the nutrients coming back into the earth from the dead insects anymore because you wiped them out. And now when you get a lightning strikes, this foliage and litter that's not supposed to exist because the biota, the bacteria, the fungus is supposed to break it down and disappear it and recycle it. Instead, it's tinder dry and it just wafles up in the air, travels 1,000 feet and starts another forest fire. It's not part of our cycle, right? It's a new thing. And so we predicted this long way. Right after Fukushima, we said flash floods and wildfires in the future. It might be a big issue. Because we know this because of Chernobyl. The last 8 years have been the 8 warmest on record. As the growing concentrations of heat-trapping gas. Now, see, you're not allowed to have a debate about this. So if you're not allowed to have a debate about it, then it's fake. And CO2 is your friend. Just let me grab. There's such a thing in my world as grabbing anything. Because sometimes I'm pretty good at finding stuff, other times I'm not so good. Yeah, there is sadistic industry, this industry. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Hang on here. Let me see if I get lucky. It's not where it's supposed to be. Now, I was going to play the videos in CO2. I don't know. Let's keep going. Let's keep her going here. Or, let me give one my kick. I don't understand why my search is not. Let me do it the other way. I got another way of doing it. No, can't do it over there. That's disappointing. Well, CO2, more CO2 means the plants are growing, right? Way bigger. Way more foliage, way more fruit, more CO2. Under the Traders' Paris Agreement, where a handful of people, unelected, decided the fate of humanity. So, like, UN uses 4 papers. So it's, you got Wallace Brocker, global warming. You got James Hansen, climate change. You got Miles Allen, BP and BP oil. Miles Allen was a paper on net zero, and BP oil done a campaign on carbon footprint, and that had been sucked up by the military-industrial complex, UN, and 195 militaries, and then weaponized against us. The UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, UN, they got a panel on everything, every facet of your life. The 1.5 degree mark is a key threshold. Look, we passed that a long time ago, post Fukushima, of course. Concentration CO2, methane that traps heat in the atmosphere. It traps heat in the atmosphere. It doesn't work that way. Right, CO2 is more babies, more puppies, more plants, more trees, more insects, more birds, more pizzas, more. So when a creature dies, right, they're all CO2, they get recycled back into other creatures. That's the cycle of life. You get rid of CO2, you get rid of the cycle of life. So the plume models that I was showing you before, the radioactive fallout, let me show you how that works. That's actually important, actually. Let's bring that up. We'll just go back to the good old sawhorse, the plutonium study. Well, it's neptunium decays to plutonium after 2.5 days. This is only a 20-day model, excluding the actual inventories that were lost. It's still scary as shit. It's the official TEPCO narrative, so they shouldn't even exist. These are criminals. These are just terrible people. So when you got a plume like this covering your whole planet, that's just because you can't perceive it, it doesn't mean that what we're talking about is, You can't see your cancer, but it can still kill you, right? You can't see the radioactive fallout, but it can still kill you, but it's not just cancer. It's an annual average of 417 parts per million in 2022. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. So you got a plume, pulsing energy, every atom. Think of a snowstorm. Instead of it being snow, it's an isotope, and the isotope is pulsing energy at the speed light every second. But they're crashing into each other, almost at the speed of light. This is absurdness, but you can't perceive it. But you can, but you don't know what's going on. You don't understand what to look for, and it's hard to articulate to yourself, let alone to other people. You have a plume that is pulsing energy, so you're bathed in a full body X-ray that's not natural to your body, and it messes with your frequency. Now, these frequencies, the frequency has been known to be changed by radio waves. Right? There's been a bunch of these studies. We covered it a long time ago. I used to cover it on a regular, where they can change the frequency with the radio wave of the intensity of the energy from the isotopes. You can mutate them with a frequency, like a radio wave. So that's not good either, because we're saturated in radio waves, and they know what the frequencies are. So this is pulsing energy at the speed light every second. CO2 doesn't make plumes that look like that. CO2 is very heavy. It doesn't travel very far. It gets recycled back into plants and trees right away. Radiation, it'll kill the plants and trees. It'll kill the bacteria, the fungus, the biota. It kills everything with replicating cells. It attacks everything with replicating cells and tries to kill it. And it's very effective. We don't have an autoimmune trigger to defend against it. And we're bathed in it. We're saturated in it. We're exceeded saturation. We've exceeded that a long time ago, unfortunately. But Fukushima was a pulse event. But they're trying to sell you that carbon is going to go up and get into the upper atmosphere and trap the heat. What was trapping the heat was the chemtrails for 30 years. Cloud cover for 30 years. It's an annual average of 417 parts per million in 2022. An increase of 2.1 parts per million. Do you got any idea how ludicrous it is to suggest a 2.1 parts per million is somehow an issue? So what's parts per million? Add 3 drops of water from a eyedropper, 3 drops of water to a 42-gallon barrel. That's like, it's absurd. So if I add 2 more grains of rice to that pile there, you got to know it's there. That's going to have an effect upon the rice gods or something. So the net zero was a paper by Miles Allen. It wasn't even peer reviewed. So doing what they're suggesting is not going to change. You got to kill nuclear, and you got to clean up all the nuclear emissions. You got to stop the emissions from 1,000 fuel pools worldwide. Scientists / serial killers say the link between the greenhouse gas concentrations and the rising temperatures is unmistakable. Like, what are you talking about? That was James Hansen, right? And he gave a 15-minute speech, and then that was adopted, and that was the beginning official of taxing everybody for their fantasy carbon climate. I'll show it to you coming up in a second here. The tumbling of temperatures records combined with the unprecedented heat wave, droughts, and intense rainfall and flooding events across the planet, along with the sustained global warmth over the past decade, post-Fukushima, over the past decade, post-Fukushima. Scientists say 2022 is an exceptional warm year. And just after UK met, now the United Kingdom is just the government and the administrations and the universities and the medias are literally, it's like something right out of a horror book or a horror movie. The UK's hottest year on record, an average temperature of 10 degrees record Celsius recorded for the first time, average. Scientists calculated what would normally be around 1 in 500 year annual temperature is now likely every 3 to 4 years because of climate change. Well, the Earth is not soaking up water anymore because you kill the bacteria and the fungus and the biota, the millions of microscopic creatures that are breaking out of foliage in the litter and keeping the roots and the plants and trees and everything healthy. That's the ecosystem. Without it, it doesn't soak up water anymore. So the water runs off, you get flash floods everywhere right away. Because everything is so tinder dry, it sucks up heat. We were having forest fires here this year in March. It never stopped either all year. It said the extreme heat France experienced in 2022 was a clear sign of climate change. We don't care what they said. We don't care what UN got to say. UN's got a terrible, absolutely catastrophic, horrific record. Why would anybody want to trust them? Look what they've done in North Korea, for goodness sakes. North Korea is finally free of Japan's occupation after 50 years of occupation. And the United Nations, which was the League of Nations before that, post-Chernobyl, post-Nagasaki, Hiroshima, they changed their name to United Nations. They're the same military-industrial complex, except now there are 195 militaries. And 26 whales washing up. But 2 weeks before that, this picture showed up. So that's really interesting. Why does a picture look like that 2 weeks before, but when 26 mark wash up, see the colors, even the colors of the uniforms don't match up. Right, in the clarity of these pictures. You know, a different camera, different, I think it's on purpose. Like everything is so vague, but you can see there's no blubber whatsoever. Right, what you see there, they got it peeled up. This has been there for 2 weeks. So these 24 whales died at the same time as these 2 whales. But when you're looking at them trying to do a necropsies, there is no fat, there is no muscle mass, there is no blubber there. They died of starvation. And you start to get some insight when you're seeing that. But there was only 6 medias covered this. There wasn't 26 pictures of 26 whales that came out. But you can see that behind me, not so good in that picture. I got other pictures there, maybe. You can see the whale is this. The tail is too skinny to support a powerful whale. Southern resident killer whale showing signs of slow decline towards disappearance. Well, they're starving to death. Dead dolphins with Alzheimer's. 1-year-olds in Australia got Alzheimer's, sure. Or dementia. It gives me nightmares. I'm not going to play it because so I got washing ashore in Florida carries a warning for humans, so Alzheimer's is contagious? Is that what they're saying? And it's coming from shitlegs, WION. This is a reg media. And it's dear for propaganda, right? Disoriented dolphins are stranding more often, and scientists say disturbing causes are emerging. Called Alzheimer's-like symptoms, toxins for harmful algae is causing Alzheimer's. Yeah, so is the radiation and dementia and autism and Down syndrome. That's the first studies they're doing after a nuclear meltdown, by the way. Excuse me. Diver finds a colossal animal skeleton off the Australian coast. We know what killed it. We know what killed it. We don't know what killed him. We know they starved to death, that's for sure. They don't know what killed it, they said, but it's starvation. They're bloated. That's 2 weeks later. Killer whales, also known as orcas, are apex predators. So why was there only 6 stories that covered that? And so normally this story will never go away. This is the most 26 killer whales is the biggest strating of killer whales in human history. So you think that would get some more prominence, right? Dramatic event occurred in northern San Sebastian Bay, Argentina, where 26 orcas found washed up dead. The unusual mass stranding has been puzzling scientists across the globe, and they are seeking to understand what's happening. So how come we only have 6 media's report on it? It's especially worrying for researchers. You never know about the media's response, would you? They seek to establish if the stranding was natural. Really, you think something happened to 26 whales? Or indicates shifts in the marine ecosystem. So they're alluding to food shortages. What they call it is an insufficient amount of food. What their apex predators are, they eat 240 species. Some autopsies performed thus far were found to indicate no trauma or injury in the killer whales. So there's no trauma, no injuries. Well, surely you must have noticed the couple whales that were clearly emaciated. The discovery may offer vital information regarding oceans' well-being. That's an incredible way to frame that narrative. And the possible impact of environmental shifts on sea creatures. So these were the stories, the medias that did cover it. I think it was 6 total. Scientists hope underwater fiber optic cables can help save endangered orcas. Well, ain't that the strangest statement? Information that could reveal how they respond to ship traffic, food scarcity. To food scarcity. That's such a strange, bizarre... That story, that probably came out 60, 70, 80 times at the same time as the whales had died. They never got no prominence whatsoever. But this fantasy of government allocating $100 million to put fiber optics all over the ocean floor, which was my business plan when I had the Marine Channel Productions Limited way back in the day. They stole it, right? They stole my idea. Food scarcity, that was a company, Marine Channel Productions. Turns the entire cable into a sensor, allowing it to pinpoint the exact location the animal determine the direction it's heading. In case of shortage of food, you know? The whales face a triple threat: food scarcity. That's the strangest one imaginable. Well, they've been living with underwater noise pollution for over 100 years. They're kind of used to it now. Every one of them that's alive today grew up in that environment. That's normal for them now. Food scarcity. That's toxic contaminants, radioactive fallout, and food scarcity. Because they predicted by 2013, 2014, killer whales would have 1,000 atoms per kilogram of cesium-137, not counting the other isotopes. This is why we're seeing them showing up emaciated everywhere, and food scarcity. But a killer whale eats 240 species. Dead bird on the beach could be a casualties of storm. This is the strangest thing imaginable. I grew up on the North Atlantic in storms all year long. And it's absurd to suggest that these magnificent animals can't deal with a storm. It's absurd to even suggest it, even though we are seeing post-Fukushima absurd supercell storms of cyclones and hurricanes. And an animal welfare charity, the minute I hear that word, I'm terrified, has said dead birds discovered on a beach in the Highlands could be casualties of a storm Amy. First off, I've been out in just the most brutal storms you can imagine on the ocean. And birds are probably the most comfortable looking animal I've ever seen. It's windy. They fly here and they just fly, get out of the way that way. They just pop up and sit back down again. It's their natural habitat. It appears the birds were casualties of recent severe weather. Now, I mean, there are some things, this ain't one of them, but hailstorms. But then the animal would be busted up. It would be pretty clear, right, that they had a bad encounter or something. Humpback, not that happens that often that we've seen, but it does happen, I'm sure. Humpback whale dies after becoming stuck on a sandbank in Otago. That's severe emaciation. He didn't die because he beached himself there on purpose in desperation. That's severe peanut head, for goodness sakes. You see spinal column sticking right up all the way back. That's severe emaciation. When you come ashore like this, it is often because they are unwell. That's not unwell. That's holy shit, boy. That's, oh my gosh. The whale had showed signs of malnutrition. Malnutrition! That's probably one of the worst peanut heads I've ever seen. And what's crazy is we cover these stories so often now, and now we're really seeing just how bad is it going to be over next year, I wonder. The gray whales, holy shit. They were emaciated when they were traveling north, and then last year when they made the 12,000 trip south to Baja, California, they were severely emaciated when they left. And so when they got to Baja, California, they left 80-something dead bodies, emaciated dead gray whales. And when they started heading north this year, they were showing up dead everywhere. There's no way they're going to last much longer. All the whales were, it's just... And then the whales showed signs of malnutrition. No, that's severe end-of-life emaciation you're looking at. That's severe. I mean, the peanut head is just, there's no muscle, no fat reserve, there's no blubber. It's brutal. 36-foot emaciated sea creature washes up on a California beach. Of course it's emaciated. If it's a whale, it's emaciated. 36-foot emaciated sea creature. It had the bird flu data. A 36-foot emaciated, emaciated dead gray whale. Another one, another emaciated. Look at the tail. Holy shit, eh? An emaciated. There's that headline too. There's that money shot too. Emaciated sea creatures. See, there is a lot of people starting to come around to the winning team. We're the winning team. That's severe emaciation, isn't it? I'm looking forward to just... It feels guilty even taking days off, but I'm looking forward to a couple of days of just picking around at the equipment and in the shed. I got to pull the start motor off the skidoo tomorrow and see if that solves the problem. It's fine when it's running, right? But it cranks over really slow, and I can't pull it by hand. I can only pull it a little bit. So I'm assuming the start motor is stuck out. I got to drive it in the shed tomorrow and have a look at it and see what the hell is going on. I'm figuring the start motor is stuck in the out position. That's why I can't pull it. You can pull it by hand like one half, just enough for one cylinder, and then it's going to kick back really hard at you. And the start motor would do that to you, right? If it was stuck in the out. I got another start motor, an extra one there. And I also got an extra pull starter, but I don't think it's the pull starter, because when I'm turning the keys, it's a very slow, so I have to have the full battery, big battery on the cables. I don't know what's going on. I'm assuming that's what it's got to be. I let it run a couple of days ago. It ran perfect for like 20 minutes. I even played a little clip of it. Here, didn't I? Let me see. That's kind of loud. And I'll put it up on the screen. See what time it is. Kevin Gibbs donated 40 last night. Bless your heart, Kevin. Good timing. I think I had it turned up so you guys can hear how clean that motor runs. Listen to it. It's only got 2,300 kilometers on it or something. 800 cc. So it runs fine. It tries forward, tries backwards, no problem. Drives good, right? Sounds good. Everything's good like that. I'm hoping to get out and do some research. I'm so busted up today. It would be perfect. Emaciated sea creature. Another dead whale found floating in San Francisco Bay. Yeah, emaciated. I'm guessing that's another gray whale, is it? Yeah, I had to refresh the page over and over and over, get that thumbnail from the video. Because that's what brought me to the video, right? But I was refreshing it over and over, and I click, 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 trying to capture it. Finally got a couple of shots of it. No, Oregon isn't going to blow up a whale, Kirk, because I don't know what to make of this whale. When you look at the tail, you can assume it was severely emaciated when it came ashore. When you look at this young humpback, 2 years old, that's severe starvation, right? Let me delete all of this because otherwise I'll never find my way the next time. You've got all the farms and all the other stuff that I always poke in there. Okay. Light. Still got a lot of stories to cover, eh? There's so many stories to cover, I can't keep up with it. I don't know what that was. That's oh yeah, that's the 26 orcas. That's an unusual shot there. You can see how skinny the tail is. We'll try to get to this story next time. I'm going to, that's a bride's whale. I'm going to start winding down. I gotta go to the little boy's room. The little boy's room is coming to me. That ain't gonna be any fun. Well, for you maybe, but not for me. Yeah, blah, blah. Let me see, what else can I get done here? Let's go back over to the poll for a second. Should nuclear power plants' fuel pools be declared disease factories and weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, I think I made a pretty good case tonight. I upset a few trolls I see there earlier. A little upset with me. The truth will do that to the industry, right? It's where am I to? All right. Oh, sweet. James is just burning the IAEA lately, man. It's awesome. Man after my own heart, there, right there. What? I was going to play the Adams and Drag again, but he's got another one. That thing is fucking amazing. Industry deserves that. Shine a bright light on these freaks. International Atomic Energy Agency's infographic design contest. James Lucid on YouTube. You see links below to him. And unless something happens, I'll be back on Sunday. We do our show Sunday to Thursday. Because that's the only way I can be a real bastard, if I do 5 shows a week. That way the nuclear industry gets some much deserved exposure from the reality they hide behind. Have a great night. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody on the next show, which is Sunday. Take care now.
Hi, kids. Welcome to the IAEA infographic contest. Do you love art? Do you love radioactive containment? Then sharpen your pencils, because it's time to submit. It's the contest of the year. Safety's message crystal clear. Make a picture bold and smart. Help the atom play its part. But remember, no AI. We're looking for designs made only by human hands. No AI, no AI. Keep your drawing IAEA certified. Choose your favorite theme from the conference list, like placards, packaging, or how to stay safe during transport. Then pick an audience, maybe the public, a shipping company, or a border team.
Pick a theme, define your crowd, make it clear but not too loud. Keep it smart and nice to see, with safety shields and clarity.
And format matters. Submit your entry as a JPEG, a PNG, or a high-res PDF. Blurred designs won't stop radiation.
Add your name and your age. Tell us who will view your page. Then submit and cross your toes. You might be picked, who really knows? Let's explore how your infographic could look.
Maybe you draw a truck on a long, lonely road. Don't forget to add the bright yellow radioactive sign. That means it's safe.
Draw the wheels and make them spin. Put 2 drums neatly packed within. Each one's filled with radioactive soup, but it's labeled right, so it's safe for you.
Want to make it more advanced? Add a side view of the container shielding. That's called a cutaway diagram. But keep it friendly. We're still having fun.
Draw a fence and draw some tape. Add a crew in every shape. Stick figure guards who stand up proud, posing next to cast with pride.
Maybe your waist is on a train. Add clouds, a mountain, and a stream. Just don't draw the stream too close to the rail line. That's a no-no!
Color the placard red and black. Add a crane to move the stack. Every drum needs loving care. Show them flying through the air. And don't forget the shipping manifest. That's the part with the numbers that no one reads but everyone trusts.
Glue and glitter, make it pop. Stick the cask in a traffic stop. Add a meter with a smile. Bert the jackalope checks from a mile.
Bert's ears are sensitive to gamma. He doesn't panic, he just hops.
Bert says shield it, mark it, move with pride. Then finds a new safe place to hide. He doesn't question, doesn't pause. He follows all containment laws.
And if you win, oh what a prize. Pack your bags and claim the skies. Off to Vienna you will go to show your art and steal the show.
You'll get a badge, a tote bag, and a printed poster of your infographic.
Meet the staff, explore the floor, maybe see a cask or four. Get a handshake, sip some tea, maybe meet the meltdown queen.
All entries selected must surrender full copyright to the IAEA, forever in every language across all dimensions of space-time.
This contest is a global chance to help nuclear safety advance. Use your colors, make it bright. Try to align with IAEA oversight.
Safety first and best of luck. Submit on time, no room for muck.
From all of us here at the IAEA, good luck. And remember, radiation moves fast, but good design moves faster.
Well, I hope and pray that that's not linked to an actual story. Oh my God. I gotta go check it out. Hang on. Oh my God, eh? And of the safe and secure transport of nuclear radioactive materials. The contest. I love the video. That was amazing. But that scared the shit out of me that they're going after kids. That scared the crap out of me. That's very important. Have a great night. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody on the next one. Take care.